What is going on, guys? Welcome to the DaVinci Resolve Podcast, episode number 4 here, where I look through your comments that you leave on my YouTube channel and I respond to them here in a podcast format because I can elaborate on them a little bit more. We can explain things a little bit better. We'll even jump into DaVinci Resolve and I'll show you how you can, do different things if we need to. But it's just another way that I can get information to you guys on how to use Resolve, answer your questions, and how we can just hang out together and just really continue to learn Resolve, because I'm always learning, you guys are always learning, and I thought maybe this format might be helpful for some people out there to just listen to it if you just want to listen to it. But you've also got the option to watch it here on YouTube or on Spotify. You can watch the video there, I believe. But you could just throw it on and listen to it too, because I know sometimes when I'm really into something, I just kind of like to listen to pretty much anything about it, right? I want to learn more about it, and podcasts are a great way to kind of learn about DaVinci Resolve here. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be answering some of your questions and comments that you leave in my YouTube videos. But before we even get into that, one thing that I realized after my last podcast that I put out is we didn't talk about any of the updates that DaVinci Resolve, or Blackmagic Design, I should say, made in DaVinci Resolve 18.1 release when they put it out a few weeks ago. And I know me and a lot of the other YouTubers out there that you guys love, we've all been making tons of videos about all these different features lately that came out, and I kind of just forgot to even mention it in the last podcast. So we're gonna talk about some of the things here. I got a few things here that we'll just run over and just kind of discuss as far as things that were added in version 18.1 here. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen a lot of these things. Maybe there's some things that you didn't know were in there. There's so much in there that, I could spend every day making videos about all this stuff. It's just, there's never enough time in the day to make all the videos and edit all the videos that I want to do. Maybe as we continue to grow the channel here, I can get a little help on editing some videos so then I can film more. But anyway, let's jump into some of the new features here that are found here in DaVinci Resolve 18.1. Some of the new key features that they have. So we've got vertical resolution options for project settings for social media. So Resolve has added a bunch of new tools here to just help us make vertical videos a little bit quicker and easier. So if you're making YouTube shorts, you're making TikToks, you're making Reels, or whatever they call them on Facebook stories, I guess. I don't know. I don't make them on Facebook, but whatever. You get the idea. The vertical videos, you've got some tools there that are going to help you make them a little bit easier. And I'm actually going to have a video coming out soon on how you can quickly and easily use some of those new tools to take a video that's, normal 16:9 format or whatever, horizontal video, and how you can adapt that for a vertical format. Maybe you're repurposing some content, you're making some excerpts, I'm pulling some parts out of my podcast here. Going to just go through and show you how to use some of those new tools. So stay tuned for that video. But it's nice that they give you the option, because I know a lot of people don't like the vertical video, and I get it. But there's a lot of people who do, right? And that's kind of the way a lot of these platforms are going, and they're all competing with each other. So you got to get in there on the vertical video and, see what you can do. And it's just another way that you can try and be creative. You can use Resolve for it, and you're just going to continue to learn how to make better videos, tell better stories, how to edit better, all that kind of stuff. So vertical videos, I don't think it's going anywhere, at least not for a little while here. So another new feature they added was the ability to select custom thumbnails if you're uploading directly to YouTube. Now, in my opinion, I'm not going to upload directly to YouTube from DaVinci Resolve. The only benefit that I could see in doing that, all right, maybe it saves some time, but the other benefit that I could see by doing that is you get to upload the markers that you have. So a lot of my videos, I'll put in timestamps, right? And in order to create those timestamps, I'm going through my video in DaVinci Resolve and I'm putting markers, and then I'm going to label the marker with whatever I want the timestamp to be called. So that's a big plus, that you don't have to go and recopy that stuff and reformat it, so that way you can, upload it to the description of your YouTube video. If that gets uploaded automatically, that's pretty sweet. I like that. And maybe even just to save time, you upload it like that. But I don't know if you can use all the same settings and everything that I would on a typical, export in the deliver page. Can I use all those same settings when I'm uploading to YouTube? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to check that out. But it's kind of cool. At least you can include a thumbnail if you want. Now, quick note, a lot of people want to do thumbnails and stuff in DaVinci Resolve. I mean, I'm a photographer, so when it comes to photos or images or still stuff, like I'm not doing that in DaVinci Resolve. Like, it's not the program for that, right? You can do it, and you can grab stills out of there, and I think it could work out fine. But it's really not the right program, right? You've got a lot of other free programs online. You got things like Canva or Adobe Express, or I use Photoshop because I've got Lightroom and Photoshop and the photography plan, from Adobe there. So I don't know. Just an interesting little notice. A lot of people want to make thumbnails and do work with images in Resolve, but it's really not built for that. But anyway, I digress. The new voice isolation and voice leveler in DaVinci Resolve. So the voice isolation does a really good job of isolating your voice and getting rid of that background noise. It is only available in the studio version, though. I did make a video about it. You can check that video out. I'll link it up above here if you're watching the video. But you can check that out. It does a really good job. I'm really impressed with it. And for a first-generation effect or tool that they're putting out here, it does a fantastic job. They also added the dialogue leveler. Now, that is available in both the studio and the free version, so you can try the dialogue leveler out in either version there. And what that's going to do is help kind of balance out your clips a little bit, right? Between the loud parts and the quiet parts. It's almost like adding a compression, and it's going to kind of help auto level your audio levels for you, or auto balance it, I guess you could say, adjust the gain levels, kind of smooth things out a little bit. And it does a pretty good job. It's not too bad. I keep clicking my pen here, so if you're hearing clicking, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. Let me put that down. If you're hearing, or if you're testing out the dialogue leveler, it does work pretty good. I think for me as an audio guy, I'm going to use compression and dynamics and some maybe other plugins for compression versus using the dialogue leveler. The dialogue leveler just doesn't give me enough control, and I think I would much prefer just to do it on my own using some dynamics. So that's a cool feature that they got in there. Vector keyframing for automation in Fairlight. I am going to make an automation video, but it's basically how to, automation, if you're not familiar with it, is how to make changes over time. It's almost like using keyframes, right? But without using keyframes, if that makes any sense. Because you can get in there and let's say you want to change something like the pitch of a clip, right? You want it to go from, a deep voice to a chipmunk voice, right? We can use automation to make that change when, in that case, like on the pitch effect, there's no keyframes, right? We can't keyframe it in to make those changes, but you can use automation to do that. You can use automation also to change audio levels and I mean, change almost anything with your audio. So it's nice that they added a little more precise way to do that. It looks like some great features in there that we'll be taking a look at here in the future. Fairlight grid support. So you can add a grid into your timeline in Fairlight that just helps you edit to the beat a little bit better. Now, hopefully they add that functionality into the edit tab, because if you checked out my video I made on that, again, I'll link it up above here somewhere. If you checked out that video, it does a good job, but it's hard to edit your video and change your video in Fairlight, and you can't see the grid in the edit tab. So while it's pretty good and I like it and there's ways to work with it, I think it would have better functionality if we could get it into the edit tab. So I don't know, something to keep in mind. Maybe they'll continue to work on that and make it better, and give us more options of working with our video and how we can edit our video using that grid. They changed some menus around, so they reorganized and streamlined the view menu. Some things kind of got moved around a little bit. One of the things that I lost and couldn't find was the project preset settings in your project manager. It's actually up under the 3 dots now. I made a video about that because I was like, hey, where do these things go? Sometimes they move, and we're like, what happened to these things? I can't find it. So things did move around a little bit. Just keep that in mind. The speed editor functionality got improved on the edit page. Now, I don't have the speed editor, but if you do, there's some new features in there you might want to look into and new functionality that might be helpful for you while you're editing using the speed editor there. Subtitle caption properties can now be overridden individually. So they did make a whole bunch of improvements to subtitles here in Resolve, and I got to make a video on that too to kind of update my subtitle video that I made, just to show you the different tools and features that they added on how we can, make some changes there to subtitles. But there are some good updates there. And I believe I read somewhere that they actually made a preset option available for you. So let's say you set up your subtitles a certain way for, all your videos or whatever. You want to save that as a preset so you don't have to do it every time. I read that they did make that a option to save a preset for your subtitles. So I have to look into that, find out how to do it. But again, another video I got to make. There's always so many videos to make, so many videos to make. Let's see, what else do we got here? We have The magic mask was added into the Fusion page. So if you do a lot of Fusion work and you're like, hey, let me get the magic mask over there. Looks like Blackmagic Design listened, and now you can get that over in the Fusion page. So, I don't do a whole lot of Fusion work, at least at this point. Just haven't had the need to, I guess. And not that my computer can't handle it. It can handle some Fusion. I'm on an M1 Mac Mini over here. But yeah, I just haven't gotten in there a whole ton. Occasionally get in there, and it is pretty sweet. It's a lot of fun. I actually got to get in there a little bit more, a little bit more. So let's see. What else do we have in here? Some things in the edit page right here. You can select, delete, realign. The transition's a little bit easier. They added some functionality to that. You can edit and trim gaps. So I did make a video about that, about what I call it, gaps and tracks, I think, where, you can actually work with those gaps a little bit instead of having to, just select it and delete it. You can ripple delete in the gaps and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. So in the edit index, here's another one that I like that they added in. That's the ability to open the edit index and just see your markers, right? You got a couple little tabs at the top there. You can just click on your markers. That's pretty sweet because I'm using the markers all the time. Like I said, when I want to come up with what are those called? The chapters, YouTube chapters, that's what they're called. So when I'm coming up with YouTube chapters, I use the markers in DaVinci Resolve to mark where I want those chapters to be. So then I can put them in the description of my video, and then we can, have our chapters there in our YouTube video. So I like that they added that functionality in the edit index. So when it comes to Fusion, like I said, you got the magic mask in there. You've got Resolve effects like 3D keyers, the dustbuster, lens flare, stop motion. You can use all those in Fusion now. Let's see, there's a new media in background node to let you access edit track composites. So, I mean, if you're into that and that's what you need, that's a pretty cool feature right there. Looks like some GPU acceleration got added to a few things in there. Jumping into the color tab, you've got the sky replacement. I've seen a bunch of videos on this, really cool. I'm going to get in there and try it out myself because my question is, a lot of the videos that I've seen, people use real good high quality footage, and it, usually it does a pretty good job of replacing the sky. But what if I get out there with my 5D Mark IV and I'm doing some kind of little vlog thing and I got the sky in the background there and I want to use my own clip and I want to place the sky in my own clip. Now I expect it to work better on a higher quality clip, right? I mean, kind of makes sense. But what if I use my own clip? How does it work in there? And then what if I even use like an iPhone clip, right? How well would it work on that? I don't know. I'm kind of curious. So I'm going to make a video about that with those examples. I don't know, because I'm kind of curious myself, things always work better when you've got real high quality, great footage and stuff, got a powerful computer, all that kind of stuff, But when you're just, a lot of people have budget kind of items, your budget camera, maybe you're just using your phone. How do these kind of effects and features work when you're not using super high-end stuff? I don't know. That's what we're going to find out. Some other things in the color tab, support for motion blur for textures with the Resolve Surface Tracker. You can separate RGB controls for film grain, Dolby Cinema trims, all kinds of different stuff in here. Tracking works over transition extents, which is pretty good. I mean, we want that tracker, if we're tracking something, to work from one end of the clip all the way to the other, right? So that's good. Here's an interesting one, improved eye sharpening behavior when you're using the Fairlight Effects face refinement. I thought about making a tutorial about that face refinement, getting in there, tweaking up my face a little bit, see if we can make it a little bit better. I don't know, maybe I'll still do that, but it's nice to know that they're improving that. And I've tried it a little bit in the past. It seems to work pretty good. I don't know, it's kind of cool, but maybe something I'll try out again here in the near future. You've got some improved qualifier menus, improved power window menus. Pressing Shift down and the loop toggles the playhead mode. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And Effects Inspector shows an explicit delete icon. So if you want to delete an effect from the inspector, you can hit a delete icon. They've got that with other effects in like the edit tab. You can easily hit that little trash can and delete things. Kind of cool. Fairlight, we talked about a bunch of the new features they got there already. I've gotten a couple videos on that stuff. Again, I'm going to make some more videos about some of the new tools they have in there. There was a lot of updates in Fairlight, and as an audio guy, I'm like, woo, yeah, Blackmagic Design, you go, dudes. So really excited about all that kind of stuff. Looks like there was some codec updates and things, as well as just general performance upgrades. Up to, if I look down my little list here, we're 10 times faster, 2 times faster, 5 times faster with all these different things in there. They just kind of really, continue to make Resolve better, run smoother. which is what we want, right? We want a program that's going to work for us. And if there's one thing I've heard from a lot of people that come over from Adobe Premiere, and I'm not knocking it, I've never even used it before, but man, they're frustrated that things don't work. It crashes. It doesn't just work, right? We want things that just work. It's part of the reason why I use a Mac. It just works all the time, you know? But I think Blackmagic is adding functionality to DaVinci Resolve that make it just work, okay? And that's what we want. And you've got a whole bunch of other improvements here that were added too, but those are just some of the ones that I think are kind of cool here. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's every time an update comes out here for DaVinci Resolve, I'm just impressed with how well Blackmagic listens to its users and how well they can just incorporate things that we as users of the program really want. So that's just some highlights there of some cool things that got added. Throw that down there. Now let's get into answering some of your guys' questions here. And let's see. Let's get a time check. Where are we at here? How long have we been doing this already? Let me see here. We're about 20 minutes. All right, so you got 20 minutes of updates there. Just real quick, like I said, there's a whole bunch more stuff in there that's awesome. But now let's get into answering some of your comments here on the YouTube. All right, so just jumping in the questions here. We've got Strifec 1. Any other editing software you could suggest? DaVinci Resolve won't let me record audio. Any that are simpler to use? So if you're having problems recording voiceovers or recording a microphone into DaVinci Resolve, a couple things you need to do, and I'm not sure why a lot of people get hung up on this, but here's the process for getting set up to record into DaVinci Resolve. First, before you even open Resolve, get your microphone set up on your computer. Make sure it's plugged in. Jump into your settings, your sound settings. Make sure you see your microphone. Make sure it's there. And make sure that the levels, usually you can set your levels there on your computer, are at, something decent, maybe at 50%. Okay. Then once you're set up, you see it on your computer, then you want to go ahead and jump into DaVinci Resolve. So if I go ahead and jump into DaVinci Resolve here, what we want to do then is come up here to the DaVinci Resolve menu. I'm assuming you're already in your project. You started a project. Okay. So jump into your preferences. When preferences opens up, you want to come to the system setting, video and audio I/O. And right here, input device. You want to make sure your microphone is selected right here. So hit that drop down, pick your microphone, make sure it's selected here. Then you can go ahead and hit save. Now you have to have a timeline created, so you don't need video in a timeline. You can just record your audio right into the timeline if you want. But jump over into the musical notes at the bottom, which we call Fairlight. And then at the top, go to the Fairlight menu, patch input output. Now, when that comes up, this is what it's going to look like. And on the source side, you got to select your audio inputs. On the destination side, you want to select track inputs. And now what you're going to do is select your microphone. In my case, it's my Evo 4. I know it's on the first one. And then you want to patch that into whatever audio track that you might have. Now, if you named your audio track, it's going to come up as a name here. In this project that I just opened randomly, they're not named. It's just audio 1, audio 2, audio 3. So that's how you do it. You got to patch it. And then once you patch it, you're halfway there, right? You should have the microphone patched in Resolve. It should be good to go. Now, when you're ready to start recording, let's say I put it on my track number 4 here. I want to hit that record button right there, that arm to record. So that is going to arm my track. That means get it ready to record. And I don't know why, but my levels keep jumping down here as well as my volume. I don't know what's going on there. Sometimes we're having little issues here with the audio interface or the podcast. I don't know what's going on with that. Anyway, I digress. So once you've armed your track to record, then you're going to go ahead and come up here and hit the record button. You're going to go ahead and record your voiceover, and your microphone should be recording. Now, if you're not hearing yourself, you don't see any meters moving, one thing you can check, get Fairlight menu at the top, input monitoring style. So this is how can you monitor what you're recording, right? Maybe you don't want to hear anything. You have mute selected. You could use it on auto. That's typically what I use. Or you can use it when you hit record and you actually start recording, will you hear something? And I would recommend using headphones because if you're using your speakers, you're probably going to get some feedback going on there. And you don't want to have to worry about that. So definitely use some headphones if you're recording into Resolve and make sure that, or if you're using speakers, just make sure your speakers are turned down low. So that could work. Now you might be asking, well, where's my recording go? Well, if we come on over to our project settings, so your little gear icon at the bottom here, bring up your project settings, and if we go to capture and playback, come down to the capture and save clips too. Right here, whatever's in there, that's where your clips will be saved, right? So if I'm recording for a project, generally I'm going to come to browse, and then I'm going to go select my project directory, right, that I have in my hard drive, because I don't want the recorded clips going to some random spot with some random name. I want it to go where I want it to go. So go hit browse, and then you can select where you want it to go. And that's how you get set up to make a voiceover and put it where you want. So that covers voiceovers, but a lot of people get tripped up on that for some reason. All right, next one. Hi, so you have a video where you automatically make the transition between two audio segments. Please give me a link to it. I believe you just use the keyboard shortcut Command or Control T, I believe. You select your two clips and then use Command or Control T. I do have a video on adding transitions. It's probably in my overall transition video too, my transition crash course. So yeah, so you can check that out if you want. But yeah, so Bruce Peel here says, hello, Jason. I got a response from a studio. Could you please explain it to me? All right, so it sounds like he submitted some audio and got some comments back and isn't sure what to do. So he says, so it says, main, audio fail. Audio levels in your video are out of balance. So what does that mean? To me, that means your levels are not good, right? So maybe you recorded a voiceover or you've got dialogue in there. Where do we want those to be? For dialogue levels, you want that to be around minus 10 dB. Give or take a little bit, you want it to be in that range before you start working with other things like compression and dynamics and things like that to continue to refine your audio. So if they're saying your levels are out of balance, I'm going to assume that might be part of the problem. Maybe your background music is competing with your dialogue, if you have dialogue. The next part of the comment here says, audio levels should be a minimum of minus 24 LUFS, and audio must not clip. So when it comes to LUFS levels is the overall loudness of your audio, which is different than the individual levels of our audio for a particular track, such as dialogue, music, sound effects, whatever it might be. So it really just sounds like that you need to go back and take a look at your audio. And here's what I would do. I would first go through each one of your tracks and make sure you've got good levels. Like I said, for dialogue, you want to be around that minus 10 dB range. Maybe minus 8, maybe minus 12, somewhere in that range is going to be a good place for you to start. If you've got music, same thing. I would kind of keep it in that range, that minus 10, if there's no dialogue on top of the music. If you've got dialogue on top of the music, you want to drop that music back to maybe anywhere between, I'd say, minus 18 and minus 27, 28 dB. Really depends on the music clip. It depends on your dialogue. You got to listen to it in addition to looking at the levels, right? But that's kind of where I would put it. When it comes to sound effects, that's another ball game there. Depends on the effect, because some of them are quieter than others. Some you want to be more subtle. Some you want to be a little more in your face. So that's going to vary a little bit more. But I would start by looking at individual tracks. Now, once you've got your levels good, and it sounds like a good mix, because not only do you want to set those levels, you got to listen to it, right? Audio work requires a good ear, and it just takes time to develop that good ear. So does it sound good? Does it sound like it makes sense? Do things, can you hear the dialogue above everything else? Does it sound good? Use your ear and make that decision. And if it doesn't, go back and readjust some of your levels a little bit. If it does, well, maybe now we're ready to start taking a look at, our overall loudness level. And with the video that you commented on, the loudness metering in Resolve, I'd show you how to check your loudness levels in there. So what I would do is ask whoever you're submitting this video to, what are the loudness levels? What do I need to meet? So here it says a minimum of minus 24, which is kind of typical, I think, for broadcast work. If you're on YouTube here, the max that you can do is minus 14 LUFS, and that's going to give you enough volume for your viewers so that they don't have to, boost up the volume, lower the volume, and that kind of stuff. So you want to try and be as close to that as you can. So audio level should be around a minimum of 24. I would find out what the maximum is as well, so you can work in that range. And in this video, I kind of show you how you can adjust that overall level. But before you can adjust that overall level, you have to have a good mix going on, and you have to have good track levels and everything set first. So keep that in mind. And then the comment continues, the stereo mix must be center balanced. Stereo image is not stereo. So I'm not sure exactly how you did your clips here. There is a stereo image effect there that you can use. Maybe you just need to change your tracks to mono, right? Maybe you've got things panned too much to different places, different speakers or whatever. I don't know if you're trying to do 5.1. I really don't know the situation more. But if you just need stereo tracks, then just make sure you've got them set up as stereo. And I'm not sure what they mean by stereo image is not stereo.
because I don't know how you have your stuff set up, but maybe change things to mono and see if that helps. It also continues, the low quality audio can impact your title's performance. All narrator audio is panned to the right. So you can pan things, right? But when it comes to dialogue, you probably want that coming out of your center channels or in a mono track, right? Where unless, somebody in the frame is over on the right or over on the left and you want it to hear like it's coming from there. But it sounds like in this case, you're narrating something and the audio is all panned to the one side. Now you can make it a mono track. That's going to fix your pan. It's just going to, make it come out of both left and right channels equally. Or you can use some of the other tools in Resolve. There's a stereo fixer effect that you can use that says, hey, take my right channel and boom, put it out to both the right and the left channel. So you can do that. So it really looks like you just need to get in there and work with that audio a little bit more. Maybe you just got to learn a little bit more on how to work with the audio and what to do with it. And I've got tons of videos on that, on how to set levels, how to do things, and how to balance things. And how to set LUFS levels like the loudness video there. So you can check out some of those videos. But that's kind of my advice there. I'm going to respond to them in the comment too. A little more brief than that. But yeah, that's kind of how I would approach that. Creative Zit ZT says, hey, Jason, I have a question for you. Previously, I saw you did a resizing video for YouTube Shorts and TikToks, but I'm interested in building my YouTube banners in Resolve. There doesn't appear to be a preset for it. Can you make a video on making YouTube banners without required additional software outside of Resolve? They're supposed to be 2048 by 1152 and less than 6 megabytes. Thanks. Love your channel, by the way. So this goes back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier, where people are trying to make images in Resolve, and Resolve's really not built for it, although you can do it. If you don't have anything else, you can do it. But basically, all you have to do is set up a timeline for your resolution there, 2048 by, 1152. Set up your timeline for that, and then just drop in whatever you want. Drop in your images, color grade it, and then, you can grab a still of that, and I think it should grab the still that's the size of your timeline there, and boom, there you go. Now, if I don't know if it's going to be 6 megs or not. You may need to shrink it down. I don't know, but it should be pretty straightforward and pretty easy. So that's how I would do that. ZX Gamer says, I can't do it on DaVinci Resolve 18.4. Does not work in DaVinci 18, and that is making your timeline a full width. I made the video on version 17, and pretty sure you can do it here. So I'm in the edit tab down here. Now I want the timeline to go all the way across the screen. How do I do that? You have to just turn off a few things. I'm going to turn off my mixer, turn off my media pool, my effects. Now the timeline's all the way across. If you have your inspector open, there's a little icon right here that says expand. So maybe that's what you're seeing there, and it's not letting the timeline be the entire width of the screen. So you want to click on that little guy, and that's going to help you make the timeline the whole width of the screen. And same thing on the other side, on the left-hand side here with the media pool or the edit index or effects, whatever. If you got that open and you want to see the whole timeline, you got to click this little guy right here, and it's going to extend that timeline. And I'm in version 18.1.1. 129er. No, I made that part up. But so it works. You just got to hit the right settings there, and it should work for you. Question on Edit to the Beat in DaVinci Resolve. When I right-click on the clip, there's no option for a compound clip, a new compound clip. So the only reason I could see that you wouldn't get that option is if you're only selecting one clip. And actually, even if I do that here, new compound clip, it seems to work. I don't know why you're not getting the compound clip option there. If I select multiple clips, right-click, a new compound clip, I don't know, guy. It's there for me. It should work. I don't know why it wouldn't. Here's a question from Jer. He said, I've been watching, wondering what a color generator is. And the color generator is a color generator effect here in Resolve. I thought it was a complicated device, but you simplified it and made it a go-to tool. So the color generator, actually, if I just jump into Resolve here, is a pretty sweet tool. You can find it in your effects library. Let's see, where you at here? Effects library. Boom. Effects. Are you in this one? Where are you? Where are you? Generator. And where are you? Color generator. Sorry. We're going open effects, filters, and color generator. Here you are. Here you are. Resolve effects. Color generator right here. So what's really cool with this is that you can drop it on a clip that's like a PNG or something. Let me see. Do I have a clip in this project here? If I drop it on here, And what it's going to do is allow you to change the color of your object. So I have a little animated logo down here. Now it kind of whites it out a little too much here. But if I come to my effect, the color generator, I can, change the color of it. Say maybe I want to make it cyan, and then I can drop the blend back for it a little bit. But it helps you quickly change the colors and add color to different elements in your videos. It's a pretty cool tool, and I use it quite a bit on especially images or PNGs, or maybe I got an arrow or something on the screen that I want to change the color of. It makes it really quick and easy to be able to change the color of things. So color generator, check it out if you haven't used it before. Pretty sweet tool. All right, so here's one from RV6A Driver. He said, pretty new to Resolve. This video was absolutely great, and I will now subscribe. Thanks, man. Appreciate your sub. And this is on the Multicam editing in DaVinci Resolve 16 video Multicam crash course, which I need to update. I mean, everything pretty much still applies, but I need to make a new one for 18 because it's a super helpful video for a lot of people. Said, I have a question. I recorded a lot of video, but never paid much attention to the difference in frame rate. And in single cam, it's really not an issue. But when I want to evolve and get better, I'm struggling with a lot of different frame rates and using multicam clips. When I make a multicam of my camera angles, it's way off in difference in speed, and I can't figure out how to fix it. So sounds like he's having a problem here because he filmed in different frame rates. I got to get a little coffee there. Man, I love coffee. Every morning I just wake up looking forward to a nice cup of coffee. Anybody else out there? Well, like that? I mean, dude, I just love me some coffee. All right, anyway, I digress. So one of the problems he's having here is he's trying to make multicam clips, but when you've got different frame rates, obviously things are not going to line up. So first and foremost, you want to film in consistent frame rates, right? So you're making your video, you want all your cameras, if you're filming a multicam clip, to be in, 24 frames per second, for example. You want them to match. Now, if you don't have them matching, or you've already recorded it and you're trying to work with what you got, you can take your different frame rate clips and just drop them into the timeline, and it should, adjust, and they should play back in real time, but they might look a little jittery, a little bit stuttering. You might run into some issues there. If you want to change the frame rate of a clip, you've got a few ways that you can do that. If I come to the media pool here, let's say, for example, I got this guy. I'm going to select the clip. Actually, let me select the clip myself here. I'm going to right click and come to, where are you? Clip attributes right here. And that's going to bring up your clip attributes window. And here under the video section, we've got video frame rate. You can change the frame rate of the video. Now, it's going to change the way it plays back, obviously, because you're changing the frame rate. But in this case, maybe you wanted to show something in slow motion, and I filmed it in 60 frames per second. Well, I can go ahead and change it down to 30 frames per second. And then you're going to get a buttery smooth slow-mo clip, right? Assuming you're in a 30 frame per second timeline. So that's one way that you can change your clips. You can also change them in the timeline itself. If you, again, select your clip, right-click, clip attributes, you're going to get that same window, and you can change your video frame rate right here. Now, if you change your frame rate, or if for some reason, things just aren't working out so smoothly, one of the things you can try is, for example, let's just say that you filmed a clip at 30 frames per second, but you're working in a 24 frame per second timeline. When you play it back, it looks a little choppy. It's not so smooth. One of the things you can try is to select your clip, open up your inspector up here, and then come on down to retime and scaling. And when you open that up, you've got retime process here. You can go ahead and change this guy to optical flow. And that's just going to help blend together the frames a little bit better when Resolve's trying to figure out, all right, how do I put this thing together? Because the frame rates don't match, but I'm going to go ahead and do the work for you. How do I blend this together a little bit better? So you can use optical flow to do that. And under motion estimation, if you go ahead and change this, the default is standard faster. But if you go down the list there and go all the way down to speed warp, which is really intense on your machine, by the way, you can tell Resolve to do a better job of estimating the motion, say, in between frames, right? Let's say maybe I want to make a clip slow motion, but I only filmed it in 24 frames per second. Well, let's say I make that, I double it, I make it 50 frames per second, and now it looks jittery, right? Because I don't have enough frames there. Well, if I come into motion estimation here, and I go to something like enhance better, or speed warp, if your computer can handle it. My Mac Mini here can't handle speed warp, it's a little intense. But if you change it to speed warp, then Resolve is going to do a good job of estimating and recreating those frames. And I'm getting a little pop in here. What's that going on here? Getting some interference. Can you guys hear that? Because I can hear that. Sometimes that happens. A lot of times I find it's a cell phone, believe it or not. It's a cell phone that causes interference when it's by my microphone cord, or my headphones cord that goes into my audio interface. Like, what's up with that? I don't quite understand why that is. I don't know. But yeah, if you're trying to fix a problem with your microphone getting feedback and stuff like that, check out, see if your phone is close to the cord. Anyway, getting back to our frames, our clips here. So anyway, motion estimation is going to allow Resolve to do a better job of estimating and recreating those frames on your clip when there might not be any frames there to create. And I've got a video on that. I'll link to that up above here so you guys can check that out. But yeah, real quick, just jumping back. I don't know, I'm going to have to check on the recording if you heard that, but there was a little bit of static and like popping going on in the recording. I could hear it in what I was monitoring here. And I found that happens when I keep my cell phone too close to my headphones cord or too close to my audio interface or too close to my microphone. For some reason, the interference just creeps right in. I don't know why that is. And usually things are shielded pretty well as far as, the clips and things. But yeah, if you're running into issues, definitely check that out. Check your cords, check your cables, make sure there's no interference between things. Just some things to keep in mind and take a look at if you're running into audio issues when you're trying to record. And if we're trying to record a podcast here and we got audio problems, that's a big problem. All right, moving on. Let's see. What do we got next here? Here's a good one from Seb S. He says, hello, do you know if there is a feature that allows us, hold on. Sometimes I just have problems reading because, let me do this again. Do you know if they are a feature? So let me translate. If there is a feature that allows you to update a power bin when you add new elements into an original folder. Okay, I think I kind of paraphrased that good enough. So what he's asking is if I've got a folder on my hard drive, and let's say I keep all my assets that I want in my power bins. I keep everything in that one folder. I drag them into my power bin. Now everything's in my power bin so I can see it in each one of my projects. Can I add stuff into that folder on my hard drive and have it automatically appear in the power bin? And that would be really good if it was like an automatic sync thing. And I don't think it works like that. If I come to my power bins here, let's just take a look. I don't think it automatically syncs because even if I right click on it, auto sync, no, sort, you can sort everything, you can import, but there is not a way, I don't think, to have it automatically sync from your hard drive. That would be great because if you look at my power bins here, I've got ones for, for transition sound effects, for music. You can see my different music sources that I use here, sound effects. And it would be great because I keep these in a folder on my hard drive, named the same thing. If I, say a motion ray, I added in an asset there and it automatically appeared over here. That would be sweet. If I go to add a new bin, no, I don't think so. Relink clips for selected bin. No, that just links to where it is. Usually what I'll do if I'm not sure if I got everything, I'll just grab all of it and throw it in again because it's not going to duplicate stuff when I come and drop it back into a power bin. You're not going to get multiple items of things. But that would be a sweet feature. But unfortunately, no, it doesn't automatically sync up between your hard drive and power windows. But that would be an awesome feature. Blackmagic Design, if you happen to be listening to this, which I don't know if you are, I doubt it. But if somebody was from Blackmagic, that would be a really cool feature to add in. I had a nice little chat here with Sebastian Friedrich. Sebastian Friedrich. He's got a YouTube channel here, talks about DaVinci Resolve a lot. Cool guy. I like his videos. I've checked him out. I watched his stuff. I posted a photo here, asking people what camera you would use because I got the C100. I'm testing out the Blackmagic 6K G2 camera. And then I've got my 5D Mark IV. What would you use? And we had a nice little chat back and forth here. He likes the Pocket Cinema 6K G2 and great camera, by the way. I'm going to make a video on that. It's a lot of fun to use. But just want to give Sebastian a little shout out. If you haven't checked out his channel, go check him out. He's a cool guy and has a lot of great stuff on his channel. So Sebastian, man, hey, what's up, bro? Keep it going. All right, moving on. What do we got next here? So if you are having problems, you lost some files, you don't have backups, if you can find your project.db files, John, it's not John, Joe, I don't even know, something Giraffe? I'm not even sure. Mr. Giraffe here. He said he was worried with the most sometimes we get a little tongue-tied. Jersey, man, you got to slow down, Jersey. Come on, Jersey. Go back to Jersey. All right. I was worried the most recent version of DaVinci Resolve at the time of this writing, DaVinci Resolve 18, would not apply And in this video, I showed you how to load your backups. If you only got backups on your hard drive, you can't find them in the project manager, they're not loading up. How do we use those project.db files and restore them? And the method does work. Like I've said before, a lot of the videos, at least that I've made and that many other creators have made too, from say version 15 all the way up until now, all those tips and techniques for the most part are still going to work and still apply. I should like remake a lot of those videos and just call it, DaVinci Resolve 18, because people think that they don't work still, if it's from version 16, but all these things, they still work. So definitely, if you're having a problem, but you see, a solution from version 16, you're like, man, it's not going to work in version 18. Give it a try, because there's a good chance that it's still going to work there. So, yeah, so keep that in mind. All right, we got a question here from John Sellers. He says, thank you, Jason. Watching your videos on voice isolation and dialogue leveler have been extremely helpful. However, I am having issues rendering from the edit page. My audio track and video tracks are fine on the timeline, but when I go to render the export, go to render on quick export, it renders out of sync. Do you have any suggestions? I haven't seen that problem happen before, at least not for me. I don't know why they would be out of sync when you render them. One thing I would try is go into the deliver page and render it from there. I don't use any of the quick export render options from the edit page, or I think you could do it in the cut page too. I jump right over into the deliver page because I've got my presets set up on the exports that I use all the time for all of my YouTube videos. So I just go in there, boom, one click, add a name, good to go. So I would try that first. If it's out of sync, maybe double check in your timeline that everything matches up. But if it's good in your timeline, it should render out and be okay. So jump in the deliver page, give it a try there and see how that works out. All right, here's one from Wayne 2 days ago. He says, yo, could you make a video about the playback in DaVinci Resolve 18? DaVinci Resolve will not render any of my adjustment clips. I want to have a smooth preview, but it doesn't work. All right, so I do have a video on it, and actually I linked it to him in a response to this comment that there's a bunch of things that you can try that are going to help your playback. And the things in my video, I think, what was it called? Hold on, I could bring it up right here real quick. 4 tips for smoother playback in DaVinci Resolve. Just go ahead and mute that guy real quick. 4 tips for smooth playback in DaVinci Resolve 17. These still apply in version 18. I'm going to make another one for smooth playback here in DaVinci Resolve 18. I'm going to include some of these tips as well as some more tips on how to get smooth playback in Resolve. But if we jump into DaVinci Resolve, the quickest and easiest thing to try is just to come up to your playback menu, timeline resolution, proxy resolution, and change this from full down to quarter or half. So you're going to see on screen, it's going to look, not as crisp, you could say, as sharp and stuff, but it's going to play back a whole lot smoother for you. So I would change that first. The other thing you can do is render cache right here. This is allowing Resolve to kind of pre-render things in the background when you're not working. Say you get up, go grab a cup of Joe or something. You can have Resolve render those things in the background, like transitions, or if you have effects applied to clips and things, it'll render that in the background. So I use Smart because Resolve kind of decides what it wants to do. You can do User and set what you want to render in the background in the preferences. And if you do that, the other thing I like to do is make the time that DaVinci Resolve waits to start, creating these renders. And to do that, come to your project settings. We have master settings here. And if you scroll down, you've got optimize media and render cache here. And right here, enable background caching after. I think the default is 5 seconds, but I say 1 second because as soon as I'm done, get to work, Resolve, start working in the background there. So I changed that to 1. You can also create proxy media. And if you're going to do that, or proxy files, if you're going to do that, you can select the format for them right here. So you've got all the options in there. Select what quality that you want to use. That's one option. You could do that. And if you want to create the proxy media, you can just come to anything in your media pool. You can select it, right click, come on down to generate proxy media right here. And then you can go ahead and allow Resolve to create that proxy media for you. And one thing you can select when you're using the proxy media is come in here and you want to say use optimize media if available. So you optimize media and proxy media. It's the same thing essentially, but proxy media, you have full control over where to put them and then move them around and that kind of stuff. You can give them to other people. Optimized media is all managed by DaVinci Resolve. So that's the difference. But as far as the files, it's really kind of like the same thing. And then proxy handling here, you can either disable them, prefer the proxies, or prefer the camera originals. Now, when you're using the proxies, you don't have to come and turn this off when you're done with your project and you want to render it out. Resolve will automatically use your high-res files when it goes to render out. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you have a lot of color grading on your clips, you can disable the color grades, and that's going to help your playback. So up here, you have this little, I don't know, icon, whatever this called. I don't even know what it's called. The bypass color grades and fusion effects. So if I turn that on, it's going to change. Let me just get to myself here. So you can see, boom, there's my color grade. There's without my color grade. That's the raw file right there. So if I'm having trouble playing back, I change those other settings. You can turn this off, and then you're able to play back, and that's going to help make it a little bit easier on your computer too. The other thing you can do is you want to edit your footage in a 1080 timeline. So if you're recording in 4K, 6K, 8K, 12K, who even does all that? I don't know. I don't film in 4K. That Blackmagic camera I'm trying out, man, 4K files are huge. Dude, they take up so much space. Gosh, I'd have to get so many more hard drives and more computer, all this. Anyway, I digress. Edit in a 1080 timeline, and then when you're done, change that timeline up to a 4K timeline, and then you should be good to go, because the 1080 timeline is going to play back easier. It's going to work better. And if you have 4K footage or higher res footage, when you change your timeline back, Resolve will just scale everything and it'll just work out fine. So I do everything in a 1080 timeline. I export in 4K to scale it up, and that seems to work out fine for me. So that's some ways that you can get some better playback there in DaVinci Resolve, any version, pretty much any version that you got. All right, here's a good one from Troy Bowman here. He says, hey, Jason, I was watching one of your videos on how to restore a backup file in DaVinci Resolve 18. I opened up DaVinci Resolve, clicked on the project file, and accidentally disconnected the database. 2 weeks worth of work. Anyway, to reconnect the database of a master project file. So if it's the database that you lost, yeah, we can hook that back up. So if you come into your project manager here, you've got our database over here. Let's move this over this way. Database right here. And I would come down here. I'd go add project library. And now they call the database a library. Same thing, database, library, whatever. You can go to connect here. That might work. Or if, well, you don't need to create a new one. So I'm assuming you're going to go to connect here. And then you can go hit browse here and then go find wherever your database or your project library, wherever it's stored. And it should link it back up for you. So it should be as easy as that, as far as I know. I've never unlinked one and had to relink it, but that's how you should be able to do it there. And yeah, I think that should work for you. All right, here's a question from Veros. 5 ways to adjust audio levels in DaVinci Resolve. In my rendered videos, the audio volume gets automatically changed in some parts. Why is this? All right, so that I don't know why that would happen. There's no reason that should happen unless you've got some effect on your channel or you've got something going on there that is causing it to happen. Otherwise, there's no reason that the levels should change. And I did comment that, and it looks like he said maybe OBS was changing it when he was, I guess, recording, maybe, or maybe he brought the video in OBS to play it or something. I don't know. But yeah, there's no reason that it should change automatically if you're having audio that's changing. If there's nothing on the channel, there's no effects or no automation or anything like that, you shouldn't have any problems there. So not sure what might be going on there. Here's a good question. Voiceovers by Keith. What's going on, Keith? On my how to record voiceovers in Resolve 17 video. It says, thanks for the explanation. In your opinion, could you use DaVinci strictly for professional voiceover work? Or would it be better to use something like Audacity, Adobe Audition, etc.? So if you're just doing voiceover work, yeah, there's no reason why you can't use DaVinci Resolve to do your voiceover work. It's got the tools in there that you need. You can record right into it. And I'm assuming you're only needing the audio. You don't need the video because you're just doing the voiceover work. So there's no reason that you can't use DaVinci to do it. You can also, use any kind of VST plugin there in Resolve. So a lot of the things and tools that you might use in another program, such as, Audition or some of the other audio-only programs, you can use them right in Resolve. So there's really no reason you can't get in there and use Resolve. I would totally use it. Try it out. I mean, if you're doing it for a living, definitely test it out first. Make sure it works good, and it's giving you the results that you want. But you do have a lot of tools in there. It's not quite a full DAW, but if you're not recording, a whole bunch of multi-track stuff and music and all that, maybe for voiceover work, I think Resolve could do just fine. So yeah, I would go ahead and give it a shot. All right, here's one from Make Your Audio Sound Professional from Redeema. Is it possible to merge audio and video into the same track? I get confused having a separate audio and video track. Thank you. So you can't put it together if you're in the edit tab here. Obviously, we've got 2 different tracks, and I think based on some of my comments back and forth. It just gets confusing when it's like, oh, my audio track's a couple below, and like, where is everything? So you can't make them appear as one track in the edit page here. But if you jump over into the cut page, then you can see it appears here, or you can make it appear, I believe, as one track. Where is it? Come on. So maybe the view over here is going to help just make it look a little bit clearer for you, especially if you only have one audio track and one video track that you have synced up. I think they appear together when you're in the cut tab. I'm not 100%. I don't use the cut tab much. I have a video that I'm going to make of a soccer game I filmed called, I don't know, something like, I only use the edit tab. I'm trying the cut tab for the first time. DaVinci Resolve guy tries the cut tab for the first time. I don't know, something to that effect. Because I've never used it, and I've got a lot of footage to get through and make a little video out of, like a little highlight reel. So it's on my list of things to try here. Because I just don't use the cut tab. I just don't use the cut tab. I use the edit tab. It's just what I do. Because I find in the past I always ended up in the edit tab anyway. So why bother going to the cut tab if I'm going to end up in the edit tab anyway? I don't know. All right, here's a comment on, looks like our last podcast here. Hello, my friend, cool podcast. Do you have a video on, or can you help with explaining how to do this? I have one clip of a green lawn. I have a second video clip of a duller green lawn. Is there a way to adjust the color to take an eyedropper to a frame from the first green lawn and color the second lawn the exact same color? So you would do that in the color tab, right? So if you jump into color here, you could just have both your clips up, and really it's just, you got to do some basic color grading to match up your colors, right? You can use the eyedropper tool here to select your white balance, make sure your white balances match. You can use your qualifier here to select, a certain color, say in the one, maybe there's a little bit, more yellowish color that you want to be more green. Well, you can go in there and use the qualifier to select that. And then you can go ahead, come back here and make adjustments to those colors. You can use your curves to make adjustments to those colors. You got a lot of ways to do it. If you're a photographer, I'm assuming maybe you're familiar with, editing photos and things like that. So it's very similar on how you would do it here in Resolve. You can make your selections and work with the color in the color tab here, and you should be able to match them up pretty good and get them pretty close and looking pretty good. So color tab, that's the way to go for that one. Here's one. I got this comment a couple times. We'll just address it right here. 10 DaVinci Resolve tips you should know. There was a point where I was showing when your clips are offset, the amount of frames that they're off appear in a red box. And I had said it's off by 18 seconds, but it's actually 18 frames. My bad. I apologize about that. So if I jumped back in here, and for example, if I go like this, these little red numbers here, it's off by, the number of frames. I said seconds, it was frames. So y'all guys got a point there. You guys are right. So credit to you guys for catching me on that one. Here's a comment that I was happy to see. So I've got a DaVinci Resolve 17 crash course, but everything still applies to 18. But I want to make a DaVinci Resolve 18 crash course. I really want to do it before the end of the year because I know a lot of people getting, new computers, updating stuff. And people are going to get going into the new year with DaVinci Resolve, new people to the program. And I really want to have a good crash course for people to learn the basics. So I'm going to make that. And I got a cool little bunch of footage that I filmed making s'mores, actually. And that's what we're going to use to make that DaVinci Resolve 18 crash course. So stay tuned for that. That's in the works. And just keep your eyes open for that. All right, here's a good one. Let's see. You said, it's on my crash course. This comes when it comes to exporting your projects. I said that I use a 30,000 bitrate for exporting 1080 footage, and they're asking what bitrate do I use if I'm exporting 1440 or 4K footage. So if I just jump into Resolve, I'll show you my presets here. I have a 1080 to 4K, so I'll just leave my timeline at 1080, but export it at 4K. If I click that, what they're talking about is the quality right down here and restrict to, and I use 90,000. That seems to work out pretty good. Gives me high quality, looks good, comes out in 4K. It gives me the better VP9 codec on YouTube. So I'll use 90,000 there. And if I'm doing just a 1080, because sometimes, depending on my project, I try to, export my 1080 timeline in 4K like that, versus just changing my timeline to 4K because my footage isn't in 4K. Everything is 1080. If I'm just exporting in 1080 here, I'll use 40,000 is what I use now. I used to do 30,000, and just for the heck of it, I was like, I'm going to bump that up to 40K. We're going to do 40K. So that's the settings that I use there when I'm exporting my videos. Let's see if we can get another one or two in here, and then that's going to be it. And we're going to wrap this up. All right, here is a comment from another podcast guy, the Work with Purpose podcast. I've seen him around my channel a lot, dude. Thanks so much for being part of the community here. He says, great stuff. I wanted to ask about your white balance card. Any recommendations for getting one? If I just record my podcast with an iPhone and a Mac camera. In the past, I've used just a white piece of paper and held it up close to me while filming with the light shining on it. So can I do white balance in post? Thanks for following up. Wishing you the best in your podcast journey. Randy, thanks so much, Randy, the Work with Purpose podcast. So my white balance card, this one right here, I don't even know where this came from, but that's mine right there. Where did I get? Oh, it came actually. Oh, okay. It says right on it from Scott Kelby's The Adobe Photoshop CC Book for Digital Photographers 2014 release. So this one is it's a gray card, right? So it's not actually white. It's actually, was it 50% gray? I think technically for proper white balance. So I'll use this and it works out good. You can use a white sheet of paper. I used to do that a long time ago too, just to set my white balance. But yeah, I would hold up a white sheet of paper so you can at least, get in the ballpark. If you have a gray card or, a white balance card, since this is not actually white, it's actually like a gray, you can use that. You could probably pick one up pretty cheap online. I know like I have a screen calibrator. I think that came with like a little cube that's got a gray card on it. Sometimes the inside of like a camera bag, has a good gray on it. Or if there's just something gray or silver in your video clip, you could use that, or something white in your clip. But to set the white balance in Resolve, regardless of the kind of camera you have, you want to come into the color tab right here and jump on a clip. Let's just pick this clip right here. And let's say you want to set your white balance. So you want to come to these guys right here, your color wheels, your primary color wheels. You've got right here, white balance. So you can click on that. And then you would just want to go and click on your white card there. See how it looks. So in my case, I got my gray sweatshirt here, and I've got my big softbox that's actually lighting me up right now, shining on me. If I hit that, boom, you can see, because this is a darker gray, it's warming it up a little more. So obviously that's not a good white balance. So I'm going to undo that. But that's how you would do it. And you can, do it in a specific node, so you can go back and change it. If I turn off this node, you can see there's my color grade a little bit of the white balance. Actually, I didn't even adjust the white balance in that one. Looks like I didn't do the white balance in that one because that's 0. So so that's what I would do, and that's how you would adjust your white balance here in DaVinci Resolve. Here's a nice little comment, 100K. When? I don't know. I was really hoping to get there by the end of the year, but I'm not even close. I'm at, 72,000, 73,000 subs. So what does that tell me? It tells me I need to make better content, right? I need to make stuff that you guys want to watch. I need to do a better job at it. So some people blow up quick. Some people just, continue taking it easy there, and little by little we continue to grow, and it's doing awesome, and I'm really excited about the channel here and everything. But always room for improvement, right? We can make better content, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Try and get to 100K. I'm really excited. I think we're gonna get there, and I guess 2023 I'm hoping is gonna be the year that we get there. Gary, what's going on? Mom, Jason read out my comment. What's up, Gary? Yeah, Gary's always commenting. We love you, Gary, man. Thanks for dropping a comment on there. And I'm going to respond to you here in this comment too. I got lots of comments to respond to. I'm a little behind. Been working on some sponsored videos lately, and little behind on some regular content. So I got to get on that. All right, here's a good one. I think we'll end on from Dwayne Smithers on my easy audio compression video. He says, I'm working with a client for his TikTok videos. He talks loud, then soft. The cycle continues. I would have to bounce from DaVinci Resolve to Nudo? I don't know that. To do all the audio. This plugin just saved me from having to do that. Oh, it's not a question. So he's talking about the Waves MV3 Compressor plugin, and it's a great plugin, man. It does a really good job. It helps, bring up the quiet parts, bring down the loud parts, does a really good job with compression for your videos, especially if there's big swings in the audio between those louder and quieter parts. All right, so we're going to do just one more here since that wasn't actually a question. So let's see. Photo Guy Allen says, hey, Jason, thanks for all your great videos. I just put out a new video and tried the dialogue leveler. But I found that it would take there was about a 5-second delay between when I clicked on a section of my video and when the audio would kick back in. When I turned it off, everything went back to working normal. So I'm going to continue to use the dynamics for now. So yeah, that is one thing that I did notice is that the dialogue leveler, I can't remember if the voice isolation is the same. I forget. But it takes a minute to kind of kick in, right? A few seconds before it starts doing its job there. So I think that's something that'll get improved. In the exports that I didn't notice any problems. Maybe it's just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it takes a minute when you're playing back for it to kick in and start working. But like I said, on the exports, everything seemed to work out okay. But I'm sure they're going to continue to refine the dialogue leveler, the voice isolation, make it better and better, as we move forward here. But yeah, just stay tuned, and I'm sure it's gonna continue to improve because Blackmagic Design, that's what they do. They just make things better and better for us. All right, guys, that wraps up this DaVinci Resolve episode number 4 podcast here. Talked some new tips and tricks there that were added, tips and features that were added here in Resolve, I should say. Answered some of your questions. There's just so many questions. I mean, I got to go back and answer a lot of you guys here. Like I said, been a little hung up lately, working on some things. And, it's crazy doing this YouTube thing. Sometimes, you have super productive weeks. I can get out like 2-3 videos a week, couple shorts, couple posts. And then I got weeks where it's just, man, I feel like I can't get anything done and can't get anything out the door, right? That's how it goes, right? World of being a YouTuber and a content creator here. But that is going to wrap up this episode, guys. If you have questions, comments you want answered, leave it down below. I'm going to try and check the comments on the podcast videos here on YouTube to see if you guys have questions on things. And I'll just continue to go through the questions that I get here on my YouTube channel in hopes of helping you guys out, learn DaVinci Resolve a little bit better. And really, we're all just going to get better together because it's fun. We love Resolve. We love video editing. It's fun. And making a podcast here is just another way that we can learn together and give you some different ways of watching or listening to some content here. So with that said, guys, you guys have a great weekend. I'm off to go edit this together. We're going to be putting this out hopefully tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday. Today is Thursday. Put this guy out. And with that said, guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Actually, the next DaVinci Resolve podcast. All right, we'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace. It's a good thing I got a video camera to record this, man. My 5D Mark IV wouldn't make it. These hour-long recordings here. Ooh, buddy. All right. More coffee. All right. Over and out. 10-4 there, good buddy. We are out.